Hey, welcome back. It is Blunt in the Bedroom. I am Patty, and I am here with Aurelie. Say hi, Aurelie.
Hi, everybody.
And today we have another special guest. Welcome to the podcast, Nancy. How are you?
I'm good, big sister. How are you?
Oh, you gave it away. Yes, Nancy's my younger sister. So Nancy's here today because Aurelie and I had a wild hair to talk about being childless by choice, such as Chelsea Handler is very outspokenly so and has gotten herself into some social hot water recently. But Nancy happens to be childless by choice, and since Aurelie and I are not, we thought it would be better to bring in an expert. So,
I don't know
kick
about
things
that.
off. Well, have you had a child?
Nope.
Okay, you're more expert than me then.
I'll take it, Pats. I'll take it.
So Aurelie has a clip to play for us, and this is from the Tucker Carlson show, yeah?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
here goes.
That's what you see women like Chelsea Handler, feminists like Chelsea Handler going with now. They've been lied to by their society forever that you could be a girl boss and you can do anything a man can do, which everyone who's ever seen a woman back up a vehicle knows that's not true. But either way, they've been told that they should do career and don't do a family or anything like that. And soon you're Chelsea Handler. Soon it's Valentine's Day. And your room resembles a dried up tumbleweed blowing down an old Western town. And your Valentine's Day date for the 10th year in a row is a 10-year-old copy of Magic Mike and a half full bottle of Xanax. And you're trying to pretend like you're happy, but you're not happy. And it's actually not her fault. She's been lied to by a country that has lost its what?
How do you know she's not happy? Like,
well, in a
Why
country
wouldn't
that's
she
lost
be
its way.
happy? Like, why
Yeah,
wouldn't
no.
she be happy? Like, she has a great life. Like, I'm just like, it bugs me so much. Everything that they said bothers me so much.
This is Tucker Carlson. I mean, do you think anyone else's happiness even remotely matters to him? Especially some woman, and a childless woman, no less. I mean, he looks at her as probably like scraping the barrel here, like at the bottom of the barrel is what he's thinking.
Yeah, I don't see how that he has to be delusional if that's the case, because her life is great. Like,
Yep.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I've never regretted having my kid, and I'm happy, you know what I mean? Like, it's not that, but also I can see why somebody doesn't want to do it. Like, I can absolutely see why. Look, for the rest of my life, every single decision that I make, my kid has to come first forever. Why would someone want that? I hope every time I spend money, I have to think about the future. Why would someone want that? Like, I'm fine with it. I chose I made my decision, but it's like, I can see how someone that doesn't have to think about that would be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's ups and downs, and yeah, everyone has different ways of going in life, but when it all comes down to it, it is about what we personally want. The thing is that they're talking on a much bigger playing field, this whole group of people, and they think there's one way of being, especially for a woman. If we can biologically produce children, that is our role. And they hide behind their religious ideology in that as well, as a way to control people. And those of us that have freedom of the mind, we are not going to be controlled by that. You know, I've always known myself well enough to know that I've never wanted children. And it's kind of weird to me, like this whole choice thing. I almost feel like it's not really a choice. It's just something I never wanted and therefore never pursued. It wasn't like, oh, I'm choosing not to. No, I just never even thought about it because it wasn't something that I wanted. Even growing up my entire life, I could give you, examples of a lot of backlash I've gotten, probably nowhere near what it is to be an actual parent. I'm sure you guys have a whole other playing field of judgment on your end, but I can tell you from my end, the things that I wanted in life, I pictured myself doing, and it never involved children. Like, I've never saw children in my future and at any point in my life. So it just wasn't even an issue for me to think about, like, is this a choice? I I didn't have them because that's not something I desired. So yeah. Plain
And
and simple.
I've met like several people that also, like, you know, they always knew that they didn't want it. And I find that to be, so how do I say this? I actually think it's selfish to have kids that you didn't want just because that's what society says you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like doing that is selfish because you're bringing a person into this world.
Yeah.
You can't push them back in. You can't change your mind. So if you have any doubt at all, I think the best thing for everyone, the most selfless thing in my opinion, is not to have kids.
Correct.
Because well, again, it's not like the world is underpopulated. There's enough people around.
Well, and I always think on a global level anyway, and we already have children that are not being taken care of. I have no interest in bringing more people into the world that cannot be taken care of necessarily. And again, it is exactly like you just said here, hon. It is not fair to the child even. I've never remotely wanted them. Why would I even have children? And for them to realize that later, well, I never really wanted you. It could possibly work out. It might not, but I wasn't willing to take the chance on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've met the offspring of the people that were born for parents that didn't want them. And they always like it, you know what I mean? Like, you know, whenever it's, yeah. I mean, but I guess it's true that sometimes it does work out, right? Like, okay, you know, like there's people that get accidentally pregnant and end up going through with it and just like, well, this is just circumstances. But then there are people that are just like truly don't. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna wait my turn, but
oh, okay, no, go ahead. I lost my train of thought. It's okay.
No, just to spin off of that, I know that's headed spiraling dangerously toward abortion, but like it was really clear, like, in data stuff, that because of the babies that were unwanted were prevented by abortion starting in the 70s, there was a dramatic and definite decrease in crime rates once the 90s rolled around. And it was directly attributed to the fact that that was the start of the generation, like the achieving grown-upness generation, where there were many fewer unwanted babies, which meant a greater percentage of the children born were wanted, had enough, were cared for. And like it showed in our crime data in the population.
And that makes perfect sense. That makes beautiful sense.
It does.
Right.
And I love that it's on paper and like, you know, like it's evidence there.
Yeah. You know what I think what it all boils down to as well? From a young age, we need to be teaching children to know their own mind, to figure out what it is that they truly want without having any, you know, influencers, whether it's, they just shouldn't be told what to do. They should know kind of what their options are. You know, I hate to get on the topic of religion, but I kind of feel like religion in here is kind of like, oh, I'm going to raise my kids such and such. And like, how about instead of saying you're going to raise them this way, why don't you just teach them all the different ideas out there, and then they can make up their mind themselves if they want to believe that or believe something else or believe in nothing. It's entirely up to them. And I'm sorry, that's an absolute off topic, but it kind of works in the same way. Like, we got to teach these kids, to how to think for themselves and know what their wants and desires are. Yes, Patty.
Yep. Oh, I was gonna tag right off of that with the teaching them how to think, not what to think.
Yes,
exactly.
Yep.
But I feel that way about religion. I feel that way about the public school system.
Yeah.
Y'all, it's everywhere.
You know what's
interesting? Because otherwise it's cult mentality. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's when you just blindly follow a leader, and when you believe something just because it's what you're told to believe, that's cult mentality, and it's not healthy.
And there's different forms of like cults as well. Not even just religious based, but I thought it was interesting. Some people, like in that other video of Chelsea Handler that we watched, that woman, she said something along the lines of, you must have had a really terrible childhood since you don't have children now. And I thought, well, yeah, I did have a really terrible, shitty ass childhood, but guess what? so did my sister here, and she always knew that she wanted a family, and I decided not to. So I think that argument is pretty irrelevant. I don't think that had anything to do with it.
Yeah. Because there's also a lot of people that, you know, like is the opposite and still chose.
Right.
Yeah. Like my husband's family, they all grew up in the same household. 4 of them had kids, and the other one is like, I never want children.
Right. Yeah, some people have no desire for them, and I'm one of them. It's all it boils down to.
Isn't it weird to think that what is it, 1950s? So when was it that we got the pill? Like seriously got the pill? Anyway, I should know these things. Anyway, I mean, 100 years ago, if you were having sex, you were just going to have babies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That horrifies me. And we are barreling that way again. Okay, sorry. Wow, why did I not expect that this topic would tangent into abortion like every other thing?
Well, this is very, very relevant in that whole, because the reason they're trying to get rid of abortion is because less white women are having babies. So, yeah, I mean, it is directly related.
And that's so crazy. I never looked at it that way. And oh my God, that is exactly what's happening. Wow. They don't want more Blacks and Latinos having babies, do they? Oh, that makes absolute sense.
That part doesn't really matter as much, but the white population supposedly is going down. Not going down, I guess it's lower. It's been lowering, I guess, or something like that. I don't know that it's like a problem, I don't think, but.
Well, and I mean, it seems so asinine. Like, why is that an issue? But some people are terrified of things that are different. And obviously those are those people. So, I mean, hey, welcome to being a minority then. You know they'll know what it feels like then now.
Yeah, so. Well, because I mean, also, I think that the data also shows that most abortions are had by white women, or, you know, like that is also, yeah. They don't like that.
Okay, I don't even know what the statistics is, but okay.
And married couples. Married couples are the most common.
For abortions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. When it's like,
I wouldn't have expected that.
Not ready or not ready for another one, or, you know.
Well, whatever the reason. Yeah, it's their body, their choice, you know.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah. If they choose, yes, just because we're biologically able to have children. I'm biologically able to do a lot of things that I don't necessarily want to do. But
is there any species though that 100% of any species reproduces? Is that a thing in nature at all?
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine it is. I'm pretty sure not every. Thank you. I'm pretty sure there's no species out there where every individual has offspring.
Oh no, I think the majority don't, right?
I mean, in
nature, it's survival of the fittest, you know. And a lot of times it's just kind of like the dominant male in animals. They mate with all the females, even. So, but then there are a lot of monogamous creatures. So, I don't know. I guess that's hard to say, but it's a very good question.
Well, I think meerkats are the one that have a female leader.
They do. And
she's the only one that's allowed to reproduce. And if the other females are caught screwing the guys off in the sides of the of the dugout or wherever they live, she gets her ass beat and she gets kicked out of the group. So, I mean, there are sexual rules in the animal kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are. I mean, I think there's every kind of rule out there too, isn't there? There's not just one way of, you know, animals reproducing. There's a lot of different.
I mean, we've got ducks with a corkscrew penis with barbs. So, I mean, I kind of think we've got everything out there.
Oh, yes.
Well, let's see. We tangented as we do. Aurelie, you had a list of good topics here. Do you want to bring us home?
Yes. So The other one that I wrote down was analyzing the benefits of this for the patriarchy. Of what, like, does that make sense? So
The benefits of what? Sorry, the benefits of what?
Of women, forcing women to have babies, the benefits of that to the patriarchy.
Oh, like Handmaid's Tale type bullshit we're talking.
So what use do men have if not to provide for their families? This is like a side question I wrote. And are they just mad because they know they couldn't handle the other side, the side that they look down on?
That's interesting, because like use for men, because both my husband and I have never wanted kids. Like, it wasn't just me, you know. Even on the first date we discussed this, and he had never had a shred of desire either, and so we kept dating at that point. I'm like, well, this is perfect. And you know, he had his reasons, I had mine. But yeah, when it boiled down to it, he does not feel any less of a man. Like, he definitely, and he almost doesn't want kids more than, you know, more so than me. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not just gender based.
No,
he's from India too, which is very, it's very unheard of there. And it's starting to change now. They're starting to modernize a little bit in India. But I mean, he grew up in the jungles of South India in a small village. It's just expected that you have kids. And by the time he got into his 30s, people were starting to question. But it's nowhere near like it is with a woman. Like, the woman is expected, like, it's all on her. You know, I'm the one that gets kind of blamed for not wanting kids. It's really never the man's fault, is it? So right. Even if it's a mutual decision. And yeah.
It's a good question about the patriarchy. I mean,
because again, what use do they have, right? Like, if they have to convince women, and I'm just gonna say women in general now, even though I know that it's like mostly narrowed down, but still, let's just say women in general. But if they keep women believing that their place is, or if they keep everyone believing that women's place is to reproduce, not to do the manly, quote unquote, manly things like working and paying the bills and starting businesses and all that stuff, like, it benefits them, because otherwise, honestly, what use do they have for real? If we can do all the work and then still do everything else too, like, honestly, what are they, the only way they can really be superior is if they're the ones that's bringing home the bacon.
That's true.
Women is, you know, not.
I suppose they see it as, you know, what man wants to, like, be in the kitchen taking care of kids, right?
They see it as that's not their place. The women is a woman's place.
Yeah.
Well,
but
that, like, keeps them that particular group of men.
Yeah. That keeps,
you know what?
Of course, that keeps them on top, like you said. Yeah, absolutely.
My husband told me in the thick of, you know, having young children that he 100% understood that my job was harder than his.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we fill traditional roles, but we're like, this is not required, but each of these situations is working for us right now.
Right.
And that's all it ever has to be.
Yeah. I work from home, so it makes sense that I do the homeschooling and things like that, but it's just what happens to make sense in this family. If I got a job, if in my business I started making a lot more than he is, then it wouldn't make sense for me to be the one doing everything at home. Like, we've talked about it, it's not a big deal for us.
Yeah.
But the system,
yeah.
Again, well, I definitely think capitalism benefits from it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you keep people just
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you keep people barely scraping by but with just enough hope, you're going to be able to extract every bit of work and money out of them.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that's going to make capitalism keep functioning.
Well, it's definitely a form of control too. And obviously, I'm still going to go back to religion on this one to say, yeah, religious ideology definitely puts women on a different level than men, for sure. And that is, you know, what a lot of them live their life by is, you know, religious ideology. But yeah, it's just a way to control people. There was something interesting I heard recently too about education. Like, if someone from corporate is going to hire someone, is it going to be someone that has creative, wonderful ideas for something, to make something special and innovative, or is it going to be that person that for sure went to college and got that degree? It's going to be the person that got the degree, because they know that you went to a school for 4 years, so they'll know that you're gonna work for them and put in the work in those hours. So they don't want you to get any ideas, creative ideas. I don't know the exact wording, but it was something along those lines of like, well, when you go to college, it keeps you, like, prepares you for the corporate work world, which you want workers. You want people that show up, you know, 9 to 5. You don't want somebody that has creative ideas and comes up with their own, you know, like a podcast or writing novels or art or things like that. You know, how does that benefit them? So,
well, yeah, I mean, look what we're doing now. We're spreading these ideas that they hate.
Yeah.
This is the danger of women being out here, getting educated and all these things. This is the danger of it, because we'll speak on it and then it starts spreading. Like, if you watch The Beauty and the Beast, Gaston, like, you know, women reading, like, you shouldn't be reading, you know, that women start getting ideas. And it's like, Disney just said it. They just said the quiet part out loud, right? For the world to see.
Yeah, good analogy. Unfortunately, there's still parts of the world where women can't read. That's disgusting.
And designed that way for this reason right here.
Right.
Yes. Well, and everything else we've been talking about is just shades and facets of that same energy.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm like, how fragile is your masculinity that you can't, like, be supportive of your counterparts here? You have to rise above them, you know, you have to feel taller. Like, that is not confidence in any way. That is the complete opposite.
That's why I wouldn't be able to be with someone like that. I just find that to be so weak. Like, I couldn't, to be honest, respect my husband as a man if he thought that way. It's just like, you're just so small. You're so small that you got to try to force me to be small too.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. It's a turn off. It's like, ew, no, don't read a book. Like, you sound stupid. Yeah. I'm like that. I don't know how much Patty has said about me, but that's definitely how I am.
They get away with so much, men do. They really do.
The shit that they say on Fox News, I just can't. Have you heard them defending rape? Or, you know, the nonsense that Republicans say about it?
I can't even handle listening to it because it's so cringy, and I mean, I don't normally get incensed by people whose opinions don't matter to me, but the fact that they're getting their message out no problem is horrifying. And I'm sure, they'll say, oh yeah, rape's okay, and because the woman was probably asking for it by dressing a certain way. Well, okay, if you dress all cute and you get raped by a man, is that different? It must have been your fault, right, for dressing a certain way. So, like, they don't, like, these hardcore right-wing Republicans, they don't see outside of their own realm, their own way of thinking. You got to think exactly like them. It's like, okay, but put yourself in someone else's shoes. We learned this shit when we were kids. Don't judge someone till you've walked in their shoes. It just, oh my gosh. It is like the simplest message too. And they cannot see outside of themselves. They won't even try. So far gone. And Tucker Carlson's one of the worst. One of the worst.
I mean, it's my understanding that in Canada, Fox News has to be called Fox News Entertainment because they're so far off. Is it?
I thought so, because they're not real news. Like, that's how they argue their cases in the courtroom whenever someone dies or something, listening to their bullshit. is, well,
Yes.
this is not real news. Everyone knows that, and anyone in their right mind wouldn't believe the nonsense that we spread. And still, and still people follow them. I even read somewhere that they went to court to classify the channel as entertainment, or the show or whatever, as entertainment, so that they could lie to people. These things are public record, and still they have a huge following.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Scientology, kind of. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, everything is right there.
Mm-hmm. What's that good quote?
Willful
In the
ignorance.
age of information, ignorance is a choice.
Ooh, yeah.
You got people have to do their research, but again, that goes back to the whole childhood thing of like, people are supposed to be taught, kids are supposed to be taught to use their own minds and question everything, and trust your instincts a little bit, and do further research. But when a lot of people are taught not to question, because again, the patriarchy, what are you going to do? For a long time, I didn't have a mind of my own, in my opinion, and it took me years to get to a certain point. I just, it was just, I was being controlled for a very long time, and it makes me sad, because so many people, they just think this is how it is, and I don't feel good about myself, so I'm gonna kind of just put you down so I feel better, and so on and so forth. It's like the whole, I don't know, insulting other people, especially women, for their personal choices. And I know some people think it's bad to have desires too, like it's a sin, or you shouldn't have these thoughts, you should put them aside. Well, no, we have these thoughts for a reason. We are real people, so pursue what you want to pursue. There's a reason that you're interested in these things. If everyone were the same, like some people want, how boring would that world be?
Amen.
If we were
I've
all
actually
white,
thought a lot about
Christian
that.
conservatives.
I've thought a lot about that. What would it be like if everyone thought the same?
Some people want that, as long as it's what they think.
Yeah. Well, I think some people, I think like the patriarchy needs it. They need this.
They believe in religious freedom until a Muslim comes into school and says, oh, we're going to pray in our religion. Yeah. Let's see how quickly they shut that shit down. That's not religious freedom. That's religious oppression. And so on.
Yeah. Damn. Talk about an onion, huh?
Yeah, no, it really is. Oh. No, you were saying something about Chelsea and the life she leads. I mean, she wakes up whenever she wants, takes edibles, has sex with hot men, and masturbates, and goes back to sleep whenever she wants. I mean, it sounds good to me.
Can spend her money however she wants. Like, just alone the anxiety of accidentally, like my alarm accidentally not going off and I'm late to pick up my kid from somewhere, that alone she doesn't have.
No.
I never, like, it's just like, I just don't get why it's such a big deal not to want the stress that I chose to have it, and it's fine. But again, for the rest of my life, until I die, my daughter's going to be at the front of every decision I make.
Yeah.
Why would, like, it's totally fine not to do that.
Yeah. And I applaud mothers, I swear. What a job you guys have.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Pat. Yeah.
Oh, I appreciated, Nancy, you talking about the fact that it wasn't like a decision not to. It was just like, well, I'm not pregnant and having babies right now. So like, why would I assume that it's a given that I would do that?
Well, it's just so irrelevant to me. It's kind of like someone asking me, like, why do you not like football? You could almost say it in the same way. Why do you choose to not like football? I'm not choosing to not like it. I don't fucking like watching football, you idiot. Why would I do something I don't want to fucking do? It's pretty simple. I think we lost you, Pats. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's awesome. I just think that a lot of people, it is a choice because there's so much pressure that I mean, I think it's great to just be like, well, you know, that's your opinion, but I'm just going to do my thing. But I think for a lot of us, it's like we're guilted into it. Like it's not, it's just like a thing that's expected.
But did either of you feel guilted into it? I know I sure did. And I got a lot of like, oh, you'll change your mind later on. Even now at age 41, I still get that shit. And my husband's had a vasectomy. I mean, people cannot learn to fuck off. So now my question, I mean, to the two of you, did you ever feel like there was a little bit of guilt that kind of pushed you to this? Or did you truly, that was what you wanted? You wanted a family?
I did feel like it was an expectation. I felt like it was an expectation younger than, because that's the only part of it that I think I would have changed if I could, is I would have waited longer.
Oh, okay.
But I also think that's another thing that's designed for us to do things like that when we still have the mind of a young 20-year-old, because 20 is considered an adult, but it's not really grown. It's not really like, you're not the person you want to be. At that age, I was still, when I had my daughter when I was 22, wow. I did it because it was expected, right? I got married, I had a kid. That's just what you do. You know, like how when kids start turn 4, they're expected to go to school. Like it's just an expectation that you have to think not to do. In my situation, I had to think not to do it, but it was just like a thing that does that making sense? Like, am I rambling?
Yeah, no, you're making perfect sense actually, because I mean, it sounds like you have no regrets, but
I don't regret it.
Yeah.
But it worked out well for me. Honestly,
yeah.
The stress levels that I have, and when I tell you my kid is easy,
yeah.
She barely cried when she was a newborn. She like, I talk about this in therapy sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, how do people have kids with like issues? I'm stressed out, and my kid has, like, knock on wood, I hope it stays that way. She never cried a lot. She didn't get sick a lot. She didn't jump off big things like a lot of kids seem to think is perfectly okay. You know, like fly off of stuff. Like, you like, how do you handle like the stress of this child is trying to kill itself and I need to stop it? I don't think I could have handled it.
Yep. You're both so strong. I cannot even fathom. I can't.
It is much too much to have two like chunks. I mean, I don't have a better metaphor, but like two chunks of your heart running around in other places in the world. Oh my God.
Because that's what it feels like. Like a piece of you is like, if anything happens to this piece of you, you're gonna completely lose your mind. I really don't think I would ever be okay. If any, like, I don't even like to talk about it or think about it, because I for sure wouldn't be okay. And it's like, we choose that. I honestly have wondered why is this, again, I think it goes back. This is why we're conditioned to have them so young, because you don't think it through as much.
I don't even know. I mean, yes, I think conditioning is there, but I think biology set it in motion first. I mean, biology is driving our hormones at that age when our brain has not caught up.
Yeah,
so that is the tricky little evolution that does things and figures out what works accidentally, and it just keeps happening because it happened a lot.
Right.
Humans would have probably
horny
died
teenagers
out by now.
made a lot of babies, and that kept people going.
I think humans would have died out by now if we couldn't reproduce until we could think it through. I don't think that humans would have, like, I don't think that we would have as many, you know what I mean? Like, there would probably still be some humans, but it wouldn't be this many.
But isn't it incredible to think that, like, what if from now on we only had people have children if they truly want them, and the rest of the time we can just spend fixing this shit, fixing what is going on with our world that is getting out of control. And at least I feel like it is. Like, the people with just trillions of dollars while there's kids starving in other areas. Can we fix this shit like a little bit and stop focusing on just trying to reproduce? It's more about quality than quantity. And I think that's no different with people.
I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of children in foster care right now.
Yes. It's terrible. Oh. See that, you know, and I hate to say this to a couple mothers, but you know, obviously I've gotten the whole you're selfish thing for not having kids, but I thought, okay, how do I prove that I'm not selfish? If I have one child, am I not being selfish by having two? If I have two, am I not being selfish if I don't have
Never
five?
enough.
Where does it stop? Like,
It doesn't stop, because let me tell you, there's another thing that happens when you have kids. Suddenly you get judged for every fucking thing else. You get judged for taking your kid to public school or
Yes.
homeschooling. You get judged for that too. You
Right.
get judged if you choose to have two, because obviously you should only have one. But then also, if you have one, why wouldn't you give them siblings? That's what I've gotten a lot.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you give them siblings?
Holy
You can't let them be
shit.
alone. There's always something, like,
Always something. And it goes back to the other person's usually insecurities too.
yeah.
Why
Fragility.
do we
That's what we call it. We tend
The
to call
what?
it the fragility.
fragility?
Fragile and the fragile feelings. Like, this person's being different from me. Obviously, the only reason they're doing that is to offend me. So I just need to just
clearly.
be offended.
Man, it doesn't take much to piss women off these days. Any little thing, everything, like, we can't just respect what somebody else wants because it has nothing to fucking do with them. Yeah, it's something. It's tough on both ends, but you know, and I hate comparing. We all go through struggles too. Sometimes I
Well,
feel,
that's the thing.
huh?
What'd you say, Patty?
I mean, that's the thing, right? Literally everyone is going through struggles of some
Right.
kind or other. And I mean, that's where compassion comes in, right? To recognize that people have struggles. I mean, admittedly, for me, it's hard to empathize with the multi-million-dollar whoever heiress, somebody who's upset about what went wrong in her day or whatever, you know, like that.
I know.
That's
Yeah.
a little harder with me. But the other direction, I can do it, right? Like that homeless guy in the tent across the street. That's me, right? Like that. But for my circumstances and time and place and whatever that I experienced, I turned out the way I did. And for him, he went through what he went through and it landed him there. Like, none of us are exactly choosing this shit, you know? And
Somebody
none of us
always
are
says it first.
chose to be brought here. What?
Oh, sorry. No, I like where you were going with that. Yeah. Somebody always has it
I mean,
worse,
none of us
somebody always
chose
has
to
it
be
better.
brought here. Right.
And you're right. We didn't choose to be here. You know, someone had
Right.
a child, and we didn't choose the way we were raised either, Pats, which absolutely sucked balls. I would have chosen probably almost any other parents, but you know, I feel like it made us stronger today for sure.
But here we are. We're all here with all of our fucking issues and about the same not much idea of what we're doing or what our actual purpose is or anything here. So like, what the heck? We're all stuck on this rock swinging around through space and none of it actually makes sense.
Yep.
But we're trying to figure things out and we've done pretty good. We've like kept ourselves healthier and stuff. Like, why wouldn't we just realize that we've done pretty well for ourselves when we work together and look out for each other? And if we kept doing that, we might get somewhere. Instead of bombing the fuck out of each other, how about we, you know, take care of each other with food and shelter and teach each other things?
I know. I never understood why killing people was always like the answer for figuring shit out. But yeah, it's like that scene in that Kevin Costner film Dancing with Wolves. Like why do we have to go to war? Why can't we just settle this over a nice game of high stakes poker instead? Like, why does it always have to be sending other people to die to try to, I don't know, make your point or gain something? But going back to the term you used too, Pats, the purpose. Like, I feel like that is rooted in religious ideology as well. Like, why does there have to be like some sort of major purpose at all? And what if life in itself can be just a purpose itself? Like, isn't that enough? Isn't life enough? Like, it's your life. You can choose what you want to do with it. Why does it have to be anything more than that? Right? And there can be lots
Well,
of pieces throughout it, right?
I think it's important to take in the broader context of recognizing that we're part of a society in
Yeah.
countries on a planet, and that, you know, who we are and how we live affects the people around us, even in small ways that, you know, the ripples go out from that.
Yes.
And so, I mean, we have to choose the purpose, of course, because the giant rock floating through space in, you know, this, you know, I was going to say infinite, but I don't think it's infinite. See, science really slows down the poetic process.
We're
But
definitely
here we
going to
are floating
revisit this
through.
conversation. I want to know what you mean by the universe is not infinite, but not today because we can't tangent.
That's Patty's topic. Yeah, she'll go on about that. She goes on about stuff that is way beyond my understanding. I'm such a simple person. Whatever she's going on about. She seems to know what she's talking about, though.
Well, that's the hard part. I only have like so many words for the things, and I don't have like the way to put it all together, even though things like are in my head. Boy, that sounds weird.
I call it onioning. Whenever you hear us refer to something as onioning, is what Patty does. When she starts talking about something, and as you're processing that thing, she moves on to the next layer, but you're not finished processing the first one. So it just like goes, you know, and that just keeps happening. Next thing you know, you're like, did I just completely zone out? Like, what's going on? Yeah, I call it onioning.
Or maybe you took an edible your fats.
Ooh, there you go. No, I haven't. I don't like the edibles so much.
No.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm going for either being a prophetess or a politician. Maybe I'm not sure. Not sure where this is headed.
I'd vote for you.
Yep.
I gotta grab my bong. I'm listening, but I gotta just grab my bong.
All right.
Wait, grab your bong? What?
Yeah, we're in a legal state.
Oh, sweet. I am too.
What? Oh.
Illinois? Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that.
And in Champaign-Urbana, we got a buttload of cannabis shops.
Have you tried it? Although you
No, I've never been into it.
uncle.
I like my wine.
Kind of, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Wine gives me a headache now. It's sad.
Yeah. It gives me a headache too. I still drink it though.
In
life are still
I'm more of a rum person than wine.
No, rum. Of course, you're from Dominican. You got bomb ass rum down there.
We do.
Do you still have family there?
Huh?
Sorry, go ahead. You still have family down there?
My parents live there.
Is it? Oh, your parents live there. Okay, nice. That's the one I haven't been to. Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
It's on
To
Hispaniola, right?
be honest, all the islands sort of look the same.
Well, yeah, I figure.
They do.
Pretty familiar with Jamaica. I know that one might be a little different than the rest, but
as far as like the what the ocean, like how blue it is and that kind of thing. If you look at it and from a just touristy place standpoint, they all, to me, well, okay, when I went on a cruise, we went to like 5 different islands, and they kind of all melded together, but we're on the outskirts and not like in the culture.
Right, you're in the touristy parts where people charge you 5 times than they normally would. Yeah,
and just take us to a nice place and then back.
Yeah,
and actually experience the culture.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I like about travel, is experiencing that culture.
Me too.
We all have a culture, even the US.
We have many cultures here.
Oh, we have a ton.
We got Southern, Midwestern, hippie culture, goth.
Good point. NASCAR.
Deep South culture.
New Yorkers, we got a culture too.
Say what?
New Yorkers.
Dude. I mean, yeah.
Awesome. Honestly, that when I was a kid, learning about how the US was, what did they call it? Did they call it a melting pot then? I don't know, just knowing that it was the place where people from all over the world could come was how it was told to me in school. And I thought that was fucking great.
Yeah.
And it was happening right in our neighborhood. We were right by IBM in the 80s. And so we had people from all around the world who were like the computer geniuses come there. And I remember I got a friend from Japan. I went to her house because her dad was working for IBM, and a girl from Germany. And I just thought that was the bee's knees, y'all. I thought it was so cool to live in a place where I could kind of experience the world, because I wanted to experience everything, but I lived in this place where the world could kind of come to me.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And then I was really mad when I found out we hadn't actually fixed racism like they told me.
No.
Yeah, I grew up with everything except white people, believe it or not. In my neighborhood, I didn't see a white person until I was in middle school. Miss Kruger was my first white teacher in school. I remember her. She was about that life. I hope she's doing well. I liked her. But that was the first time, but like it was not common for me. And then high school, I started going off on my own and stuff. So, you can see other people, but in my little town, we didn't really have any white people at all.
And that's how biases get created too. I remember someone had told me, was it you, Patty, that told me a story where there was this girl, there was a little girl in a very white school. She said that she didn't like Black people, and they came to figure out that there was only one Black girl in her class, and this girl was, I guess, really mean to her. So she automatically assumed that's the only Black girl she knows. So she thought that they're all really mean people. Like, she got that in her head because she just did not have exposure to the culture. And so that's really a shame that we get these stereotypes when we're not exposed to these different ideas and different ways of living and different cultures. And
I think I didn't have that because I knew people from every culture. So it's like telling me that this group of people that I don't know anything about is a certain way when I don't know enough, when I don't know them, it wouldn't make sense, because I see that no one in every culture is the same. You can be 5 Dominicans and we all have different personalities.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I never thought that. The colors, to me, I didn't think that was real. That's the only thing when I was little, like I remember still asking my mom at one point, like, why are the people on TV's eyes purple and their hair yellow? Like, that's weird. Like, why does that, like, how does that happen? I really had no idea. Like, I'd never seen it in real life. And then, she's like, no, that's just what white people look like. So I did think that for a long time, that was what white people look like, all blonde hair, blue-eyed. I did think that, but also because that was like what was put on TV back then. Now you have gingers and all these different varieties of people, but back then everyone was blonde and blue-eyed.
Oh, the 80s.
Yeah. Yes. 80s and, kind of into the early 90s too. Yeah.
Blonde hair, blue eyes, and jazzercise.
Yes. Oh. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, I know.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I know in my husband's country in India, colorism is a problem. Which, obviously, I guess that it's a little bit different from racism. It just out there in India, which I've been to several times to my in-laws' place, and they actually have whitening cream at every little corner drugstore out there because it's important to them to be lighter skinned. If you're darker skinned, you're looked down upon. That's still a problem out there, even today.
Yeah.
They and you see all these like Bollywood stars and people in Indian films. They're all more lighter skinned.
It's the same in Latin America.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's a shame because, well, for me, I like features that are really different. Mm-hmm. So there's a community in India that has the blue people. Like, they're so dark, they're blue. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. Like
Yeah.
it's a shame that they're discriminated against. They're like not really welcome everywhere else, so they have their own like community because of it.
Yeah, nope, I understand that. Yeah, totally. Any way to discriminate people, the caste system is still very prominent out there too, which I wrote about in my book, some experiences with that. Just about how at least they say here in the US that capitalism is such a thing. If you start out poor, you can become rich in the future if you work hard. That's what they teach you.
Mhm.
But I know it's not necessarily like the case anymore. Maybe it used to be, but in India, it's guaranteed. Like if you were at a low caste, meaning you come from a poor family, good luck to you making anything out of yourself in the future. Like you're just screwed for life. I mean,
Really?
the way that system works, anyone from India that's here in the US, pretty much they come from a higher caste. That's why they're here. So the rest, yeah, they're either making good money in India or they're in poverty, unfortunately to say. So yeah, again, it's a way to keep people on the bottom. If you're already on the top, what's that great quote I heard the other day? Something like, if you're always used to being on top, sometimes equality can feel like oppression.
Mm.
Right?
Yes,
There's
I've
some
heard
quote
that
out
before
like
too.
that. Yeah. Like all of a sudden, but I'm on top. I don't want anyone else on top because then I lose my status.
Well, for a few people to have a lot of people have to have nothing.
Yes.
And honestly, in a way, we are also that part of that few, because what is it, like 85% of the world lives spending below $50 a day.
Correct. We are definitely in the upper.
Yeah.
upper
And
tier.
we can
You may
only
not think
have
so,
these
but we
like
are.
phones
Yeah.
and stuff because there's so many poor people in Africa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We've
Yeah.
super tangented, by the way.
We did.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, it's related because let's see, we can connect anything. Come on, we can connect anything.
We
So
really
we're talking
could
about
connect
childless by
Yes.
choice,
Hmm.
right? And that seems to be ruffling the feathers of the patriarchy because it upsets the order that was preferred by the patriarchy, which is man at the top of the order and controlling what women do, including their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
It's all on track, right?
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I think it's important to get into different cultures too, which is kind of where we started to go. So,
Oh yeah, good point.
yeah, I mean, it can be very different around the world too.
Yeah.
But
Well,
a lot
I
of the
read
reason.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I believe that a lot of the reason the like caste system got really reinforced and stuff was still through colonialism.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Again,
Yeah.
it's white domination, which, how much richer of a
Yes.
country would India be if, all their gold hadn't been taken,
Right. And did they have a society that cared for each other before imperialism, like change, beat them into submission and change the minds of enough generations that the old ways of thinking about it had been lost.
Right. And there's a whole history behind
Right.
that that's kind of unheard of that I've gotten a chance to experience too, or see.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a dynasty. No,
It
the
was.
Mongols. Never mind. Hold on. I was learning about this in homeschool. It was before colonialism. There was a system
Gupta.
that was like really, really bad. I mean, they had these bad parts and everything, but they did encourage things like religious freedom and different things. So it's like one of those, like, you take and you lose some. It was obviously viciously taken, and of course that's not great, but
Yeah.
what happened
like
after was worse.
It was the Gupta dynasty, I believe, that did occur before imperialism. Yes.
That rings a bell.
Where they had their Maharajas. And Patty, you saw that palace there in Mysore.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, it existed before. I mean, yeah, and I'm trying my best not to go off topic too. I was about to say Someone
I
else.
play the Chelsea
Okay,
Handler thing.
huh?
Should I play the video?
Oh yeah, which video?
Yes.
Or
With the different women's what do you call it? I'm just gonna play it.
yeah, go for it.
Crazy is that for some reason people feel entitled to tell you what a horrible person you are right to your face. When people ask me, do you have children? And I say no, they always look at me then and say, oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
As if like there's something like physically wrong with me.
I've had people break down in tears to me about the fact that me not having children is robbing them of something.
I've gotten everything from you're selfish for not wanting children. Your childhood must have been terrible if you don't want to have children.
Are you one of these career thirsty women that doesn't want children? And how could you deny your man the chance to have children? I wouldn't want to be with you.
Yeah, it's because men are so upset every time they're denied a chance to have a child. Watch an episode of Maury Povich to see how excited men get to.
Yep.
Okay, what's our response to that?
I've experienced a lot of those, yes. The one I get the most often is yes, that I would change my mind someday. Probably one of the most like cringy comments I've ever gotten was actually, I was in the military for 10 years and I worked with this military psychologist, no less, who was gay. And he decides to say to me like, oh, you don't want children, but if you really didn't want children, you would have had your tubes tied already. Like, really? Do this dangerous surgery? Why? Because what if I'm a lesbian? What if I am able to protect myself and not get pregnant? You know, I always thought if I actually get married someday, that wasn't at the forefront either, but that the guy I'm married to would get a vasectomy, which is much safer of a procedure. I just thought that was really weird of him for him to say. Just people have said a lot of things that have just kind of made me feel bad about my decisions. And
I've heard that one before, that the change your mind. I had a coworker. They were really young, 21, but always knew that they were never gonna get never gonna have a baby. Like that was decided. Like their whole lives, they always knew that, and they were waiting until they were old enough to get their tubes tied. And my our boss, we were coworkers. Our boss just always was always saying like, you'll change your mind. You know, like you're so young. Like just wait and you know, like all these things. And it's like, what makes you think that's appropriate to even bring that up? Like that is why is that even a conversation you can have with someone you don't even know? Like it's rude to ask someone if their hair is real, but you can ask them that.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, like that's weird.
Yeah.
I have heard that legitimately still in modern times, women will go to get their tubes tied and the doctor will make them like get their husband to sign something to say that's okay.
Yeah. And have to get therapists to talk to agree, but then no, you have to get their notes from 2 different therapists. Like there's some states that are really just like, they have all these, like the male doctor can decide for you if they will do it or not.
What?
One of my male friends actually did get denied. He's he was in his mid-20s at the time, but he always knew he never wanted kids, and they did deny him. They said he's too young to make that decision. So that's really a shame. I mean, and then he could possibly end up with a child that he doesn't want because they denied him this. That's terrible.
That's ridiculous.
Well, how
You're paying for a service, you should just pay for the service.
Well, I know men don't usually get beat down on this topic, but I did hear a woman once say to my husband when he said he didn't want kids, she actually said, "What is wrong with you?" And I was in the other room, needless to say, again, I don't get incensed really, really easily I raced my ass out there. I'm like, excuse me, what did you just say to him? You are literally tearing my husband's life apart right now. You think there's something wrong with him because he never wanted children? I was like, you absolute bitch. And then she goes on and says, what, you didn't want kids just for the experience? I'm like, well,
just for the experience.
why don't I just do heroin for the experience? You know, I'd probably find it more pleasant. You know, I just, that didn't make any sense. Like you're saying something that neither of us want at all, have never wanted in our lives. We're supposed to have children just to experience what it's like.
Do you see why that's selfish? Like that, to me, that like having kids just for the experience or just for whatever is so much more it's so selfish to me compared to just deciding, you know what, I'm not sure about this. It is a permanent decision.
Right.
I'm gonna not do it until I'm totally ready.
Yeah. That was horrible.
Like
you don't say that to my
husband. Happens.
For it, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, I guess men get it too. It's, yeah.
But again, I wouldn't ask somebody if their nails are real. Let alone, you know, like we can't just be out here asking people inappropriate questions like that. That's so personal.
Why would anyone give a fuck is the question. Why?
Yes.
Exactly.
Like what somebody else does with their life, I just don't care. Suman and I, my husband and I, we know ourselves very well. Very well. We know what kind of people we hang around. We know what we want out of life. There's no question about it. And I'm sorry, I'm going to brag a bit. We live a bomb ass fucking life. We do whatever we want, when we want. And we've hung out with some people before, like we just were not resonating. It was like a friend of a friend. And we're just like, we're not connecting with these people, whatever their way of thinking. And we kind of got asked, so like, why are you not hanging out with them? It's okay. I'm like, we're just not resonating. Like it was so weird to them that we're not friends with these people. I'm like, because we hang out with whoever we want. We don't try to please other people in any way. We're done with that shit. So, you know, we know ourselves very well. We live our lives how we want to. And I have two amazing nieces, by the way, Pats. Thank you very much. And I can spend time getting to know them. And when they're little shits, I can give them right back to you. Just be the, which I know that's hard. I know I've done it before. And my limit was, it got reached. I'm like, no.
Fine.
And sometimes.
Fine. So, I mean, my kids got to learn about sex toys because of you. So it's good. You've been a good auntie.
Yeah, sorry about that. Well, am I sorry though? I mean,
I'm not mad about it.
They might as well learn, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you'd rather them learn this stuff than be curious about something and then have a full blown, like, oh, I want to experience everything. Like I went completely promiscuous in my early 20s because I was told that my body was not my own and I couldn't even masturbate because my future husband was going to do that for me. It was disgusting. Yes, Patty, our parents said that to me.
Oh, I know. It's just painful when you say it out loud.
I know. It really is. But I mean, it might have something to do with the fact that I just love my freedom so much now. And regardless of how I may have come to the conclusion that, yeah, I don't want kids, it doesn't matter. It's like whether somebody was gay at birth or decided later on in life that they were gay, what does it fucking matter? It really doesn't. Right? Agreed. Because it's no one else's business but theirs.
And it does not negatively impact anyone else.
No,
that's the part that I really am just like, why is it so difficult to just let these people live? Because it doesn't impact anyone else.
Because maybe their life is so uninteresting that they have to like say, well, you're living a great life, so I'm going to put you down for your decisions. That's, I mean, the only conclusion I can reach here.
Yeah.
So Nancy, I want to know, with your childless by choice life and your self-described bomb ass life, what do you do with your life? What does your life look like?
Yeah, I'm sure you both have so many just horror stories. from people judging your parenting style or.
Yeah, I have had that a lot. But I notice it happens either way. Like no matter what you do, there's always somebody out there that's going to have something to say about it.
Always. Yep.
Even if their method isn't working. Like that's the part that I just find really cool.
Yes.
Like whenever someone, my sisters judged me harshly whenever my daughter and I became vegetarian. And while my daughter's sitting there eating like rice, beans, and vegetables and stuff, her kid won't eat anything other than a few chips for dinner and like a hot dog. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're judging me when your kid, like, you know, like her meal is way healthier, has more of everything she needs.
Her judging you is helping her to not look at her own failures, mistakes.
To me, it is definitely the fragility of it. It's like deciding that I became vegetarian and my daughter's vegetarian to make her feel bad about the fact that her kid won't eat anything but hot dogs. So that's the kind of judgment that I've always faced.
Yeah.
But again, it goes both ways, because then there's people that would judge because we do eat meat. Yeah. Or whatever, you know, like it's just. Yeah.
Totally.
It's always something. Yep.
So it's like we might as well just do what we want.
So we might
as well just give no fucks.
You have to not give fucks. You'll go crazy if you don't.
I'm in serious therapy because I give so many fucks.
Yeah.
We all should.
My 40s have been helping with that.
Yeah.
Oh. Man.
Well, I think before the break, we wanted to hear from Nancy on, you know, we heard from Chelsea in that video about what she does with all her time, with her childless time and money. So I want to know what Nancy does with her childless time and money.
Sure. Well, I can share, but I mean, I know I always kind of avoided that topic too, because, you know, the typical response that I get from certain people is, oh, but you can do all that and have kids too. Like, yeah, I sure can. But like I said, the things that I imagined, they don't have children involved in them. So good on you if you want to do that, you know. I just, you know, I just always wanted a life where I travel the world and learn new ideas, meet new people in different cultures and things like that. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I guess technically I'm retired now from the military. I'm a disabled veteran. I write books now. I run an Airbnb, and then my husband and I can just up and do what we want when we want. You know, for the most part, we're on the same page as far as stuff that we like to do. If we want our separate time, we can do it. But yeah, when it comes to children, I can't. Oh,
and it's not true that you can do everything that you can do without kids with kids. It's not true that it's the same. That was a lie. I mean, yes, you travel and stuff, but it's a lie that it's the same. For example, if I want to take a cruise, I need to super in advance have a trusted babysitter, which is, for me, trust is a big thing. There's like a very little handful of people that I would trust watching my kid while I'm that far away. So I have to super plan that in advance and have a backup plan, because what if then I can't go on this cruise because somebody got sick, you know, like that. It's not true that it's the same. That's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. Then you got to think about their college fund. So should I go on this trip? Or should I set this aside for their college? Whoever said that you could do the same, it's a lie. Yeah. Not the same.
Yes. It's seriously a lie. Even if you look at the day-to-day, I mean, to try to work a full-time job and think you're going to do anything more than half-ass your way through everything else is nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but that much time does not exist.
Right. Yeah, that's
you know, you can take care of some of it with money, right? If you got money, you can get people to clean your house and you can, you know, get some time back that way. but fuck, it's just not realistic.
I remember reading this article once about it was something along the lines of like the most privileged people being told by the people that witnessed it, something like that. And it sometimes it was like these women that would say things like, oh, I can't believe people complain about motherhood, it's not that hard. And that was overheard by her nanny, who literally takes care of her child as she's sitting in a chair doing anything. It was just funny. Like, yeah, of course not hard for you, you have full-time help for your child.
I mean,
and
yeah, like
like,
oh my God, to not see it either is
but there were a lot of examples like that, and I just thought it was so funny, like the privilege and ignorance of, you know, some people. I'm like, I can't even begin to fathom, and I can't. Sometimes I feel guilty about having like certain bad days, or like I feel depressed, or like, oh shit, nothing's going right. And there's some days I can't even keep on top of stuff, and I'm not working a full-time job, and I don't have kids, I don't have pets, I I have no commitments. You know, Suman and we don't attend anything, we don't celebrate holidays necessarily. So I just, and sometimes I don't feel like I'm on top of shit at all. So I cannot even begin to unravel what you mothers are going through, because it's not even just you. You have to try to process your own thoughts, as well as your kids. Like, in some ways, like you put your children even first before yourselves. And I've heard of mothers just start to lose themselves.
Well, yeah, you do for a long time, don't I mean?
Yes.
I did for like 10 years. Like, well, it's not even like I lost myself, I just got put in the bag.
Yeah.
So it's more for me, it was more like that. But again, my kid was really easy, so I also feel bad about complaining sometimes. Or I mean, I don't even know if I'm complaining necessarily. I think I'm just acknowledging that my point is not, my way of doing things is not the only correct way. But
I know what you're trying to say. Yep.
Yeah, I forgot. I lost my train of thought. But did I get my point across? I don't remember. I might have smoked too much.
What about you, Pat?
What's the question?
Okay, it's not just me.
Are you both stoned?
No, we're at that point. I mean, a little bit, but I was just like thinking about kid times.
Yeah. Well, and
I mean, I don't know. I always
feel?
had my own shit going on. I've always like I can't sit still enough. Like, I was gardening with babies strapped to me, and like, you know, they were, for a while, honestly, they were kind of just along for mama's wild ride of all the things she had a wild hair to do.
But that's awesome. They're seeing your life too. Okay, so
well, that's what I always thought. They should see me being interested in life, right? That's what I felt like. Yeah.
They don't want to see their mother miserable, and they don't want to see you unhappy by trying to make them happy. So yeah, for sure.
You see what happens when you've thought it through, when you start having kids, when you thought it through, right? Like you know, that's just what you decided you wanted to do, like when you raised your kids. Because I had my kids so young, it was just like everything I'm expected to do has to be centered on the baby. Mm-hmm. I can't go to a spa, because how can you step away from your baby for that long to in such a self-serving way? Like, you know, like it's I remember that, thinking that, and maybe that's why I lost myself a little bit. Like, I got pushed to the back, because that's just what you're supposed to do when you have a kid.
They teach you that you're neglecting, right?
Yeah.
Even today, so the two of you obviously smoke. So how many of those women out there would judge you right now, or men too?
Oh, that's definitely
smoking. You know, like, I know maybe you do it in front of your kids too, and even though there's no judgment on my part, there are women that would have an issue with that.
Right. Well, okay, so here in Oregon, it's regulated by the OLCC, which is the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Coalition. I don't know what this extra C is. And so to me, I'm like, well, okay, at this point, legally, the state is treating it exactly the way they would treat alcohol. Now, I think alcohol has more downfalls.
Mm-hmm.
It does. I
But
agree.
yeah, but like, would I drink a glass of wine in front of my kids? Hell's yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like it's a little bit different with smoke because obviously smoke goes into the air. And so I don't like just smoke. Well, and I rarely smoke. It's usually like a drier vape. But, you know, it's one thing my kids said when we've had talks about it, because they've been in on the joke from the beginning, like they know this is a thing.
Yes.
My kids said, just don't hide it, Mom. It's fine.
Oh, Patty.
I go, okay, great. Actually, that came up because I had a tobacco cigarette with a friend one night a few years ago.
Yeah.
Which I hadn't done that in like 18 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
But she smelled it because ew, tobacco sticks and it's gross.
It is gross.
And she was so offended and so freaked out, and so it like brought up a lot of her fears around, you know, tobacco and how similar, like all the bad things she's heard, and if that applies to weed, and it was a whole thing. So we like went on a educational journey about it.
Yeah.
And
the only last thing was, are the men mad because they know they couldn't handle the other side, like having to take care of the kids and do the housework and everything like that? Like maybe they think that if women keep choosing, you know, not to have kids and working and things like that, then they couldn't handle it, you know, like if they had to be the ones staying home and you know, giving up that power.
Yeah. I suppose that could kind of coincide with the patriarchy question too, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Pats?
Yeah, those were both sub questions under that one heading.
yes. I don't know. I think there are some that are running that ship.
Do you want my husband in on this? You're right now.
I mean, I think this has more to do with like when it's a dad needing to fill some of those like traditional housewife roles.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so case in point, my husband has been stepping into some of what is typically my my jobs around the house for the last 3 days, because I'm in a very intense activist artist activity right now. I'm planning a performance thing. And so it's been like 10 hours a day for the last 3 days as I'm like scrambling to the finish of this thing. And so he saw the need that I was like not present to do stuff. So he figured out what to pull out of the fridge and make for dinner. And he's mostly trying to figure out what I do that I can't do because I'm working on this thing. But he mostly stepped into that, just seeing it and knowing that I was busy. And so I feel like that's a good place to be with it, right? Like he hit a point of like, okay, how long is this going to go on for, right? Like I think I hadn't fully communicated my deadline. And so understanding how long he was going to have to be taking care of all the things that I usually juggle. And so he like had a minute about it and we had to talk. But I mean, that's fine. I feel like that works well. So, but he does get overwhelmed with my job, which is why when I, you know, in the younger years of our kids, he was like, yeah, I don't think I could do your job. Your job is harder than mine.
I think that's
like, thank you very much.
Experience what the other person does, you know?
Well, I mean, that has limitations because I don't think I'm going to sit down and figure out IT security and access administration stuff.
You and me both, Ben.
I don't understand most of the words that he says when he's talking about it. So
yeah, I suppose you already know we both have husbands that work from home and both work IT. So, and neither of us know what our husbands do.
My husband also works in that field-ish.
Seriously?
Yeah, computer stuff, and I also don't know what he does.
Wow.
And nor do I try, like for what? Go ahead, bring home the bacon. I'll eat it, whatever.
Is your husband from the Dominican, or
is he from where?
Is he from the same background, Dominican Republic?
No, he's American.
He's just a white American guy?
Black American.
Oh, Black American. Okay, nice. I love all the cultures here.
Yes. Okay, so childless by choice. I guess since this is semi-anonymous, neither of my children want children.
Really?
Mine either.
I'm fine with that. Doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Wow. No, good for you, because I think a lot of grandparents put guilt on. Like, no, I want grandchildren.
I feel like if there's one thing that I can like really flex about myself is that I'm definitely not a hypocrite. And I'm not going to be out here saying it's, like doing a whole podcast about like, fuck people that have an issue with people that choose to remain childless. And then, make my daughter feel bad for making the same choices. Like, absolutely. Like, I mean, for one, I have really put effort into teaching my daughter how to think critically.
Yeah.
So she sees things and she is like, why am I going to bring a kid into this? Like why would I do that when I'm not sure I want to, commit to it or whatever the reason may be. I encourage it completely.
Oh, I love it. Well, maybe this is good kind of stuff to cover, because you both have children that don't want to have children. And though it may change later on, I mean, that's good that they seem to know their own mind already at this age, because they have these two awesome moms that let them think how they want to think and figure themselves out and are supportive of them and their decisions. Gosh, it's been so
I don't want to be the influence of it is my big thing, because I do think she's 13. It could change, maybe not. I mean, we don't know. But I just don't want to be the reason that it changed, her mind changed.
Yeah,
it should just
I
be
love
because
that
she changed her mind herself. That was her decision. Don't think we should be deciding things for our kids that are that permanent.
Yep.
All of it. That's beautiful.
You know what is so interesting? I think the media, I use that very loosely. It's almost as bad as saying they. But anyway, I do feel like our media definitely portrays women, especially women who are moms, as being like kind of not supportive of, and vice versa, of women who choose to be childless or women who choose to focus on their career or whatever, right? Like women who have these different choices. Like, not only are we judgmental of each other, we are like told that that's what we are. And it's like expounded out in TV shows and things, right? But look at us sitting here, that unexpectedly this became a Nancy praises all the moms and like gets it, right? And I feel like Chelsea Handler has that same thing where she's definitely letting moms know that they're doing an amazing thing, and she is wise enough to know that she shouldn't attempt to do that because she'd be bad at it. Because she knows that about herself. Right? I'm sure there's lots of other reasons to not do it, but for her,
but you know what's interesting, Pat, is that I've had a lot of reactions that say, but you don't want children, but you'd be so good at it. I got that a lot. I'm like, who gives a fuck if I'd be good at it? I don't want it. Or that kind of to me is almost like saying, oh, but why won't you date that guy over there? He's such a sweetheart. Like, because I don't want to fucking date him. Do I need another reason? Right?
Yeah.
Yes, to be like, oh, you'd be so good at this. Well, it doesn't matter. Some people don't want it.
I think it's so great that we could sit here and be supportive of each other's choices with zero like, oh, I really think she should have or she would have liked. Like, no, not at all.
Yeah.
And so
no judgment from either end. I am literally sitting here in awe of both of you.
And same.
I'm not jealous. Huh?
And same, because I kind of don't think I would have emotionally grown up in a lot of ways if it hadn't been for having children.
Yeah.
And like
Maybe that helped
watched
you. Mm-hmm.
them go through things and had to
Well,
like contextualize it again.
Our way of being raised, you knew what not to do, Pets. You knew exactly what
I
not
did.
to do.
I used all my smartiness to not be bad.
Yeah.
That's
But
the
sometimes,
hardest part.
yeah.
Figuring out what's the right way to do it.
Ugh.
And then still being
And
wrong.
when that right way meant that you were like, not just you got something wrong and you'll learn, but that you were then inherently bad. Or you did a sin, which was like going to lead to everlasting hellfire. I mean, like, you know.
Yeah. But it's hard
Things
with people like
maybe
you and
we
I, Pets.
put on children.
Growing up in a doomsday cult is I mean, your mentality. And it sounds horrible when I say it out loud, doesn't it? But it's true. And we were abused as children. I mean, it took me a long time to admit that too. But again, it only made us that much stronger, you know? And you can be thankful that your children never have to go through any of the shit that you and I went through as kids. Because you stopped that cycle immediately the moment you became a mother. So
yeah, I did.
Yes.
Breaking the chains, the generational curses.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You can be happy in the knowledge that their ideology, their form of control, it's not going to continue through you at all.
Mm-hmm. But isn't that how it should always be? Like Aurelie too, we've talked about parenting guilt and stuff, and like she's made, you know, different choices for parenting back then than she would have now. And like,
yeah,
it's a whole thing, right? Because I think that's where we end up with the trauma, is when parents defend their right to have done that, or they can't admit to themselves that it wasn't the right thing.
Oh yeah.
But like everybody's only working with what they got when they got it. Like you can't know what you don't know about all of that stuff. And so wouldn't, like, all we can ever want is that the next generation does it better than we did, because hello, that's how we move forward. So like, it's just so weird to me to be like mad if your kid isn't happy about something that you did as their parent. Like, or to get like super offended, right, about it, and to defend your right to have done that shitty thing that you did. I just think, like, why though? Do you really want the thing that your kids said they didn't like? You want them to just swallow that and then do it to their own kid too, so that you don't have to feel bad about having done something that they didn't like? Like, what the hell? I mean, are we fragile again? We're fragile again. But yeah.
Some people
I mean, but that's at the core, that's the difference between conservatism and progressivism, because conservatism is like, we're going to keep things the way they are. And
because they think it's working.
Literally that. Yeah. And the progressive idea is, hey, so that just happened. Some of it was good. Some of it wasn't. What can we learn from what wasn't? And how can we do more of what was? And let's keep trying, y'all, because we're all in a rock in space, flying around the cosmos.
Yeah.
And we don't have any way to like make full sense of that. So we might as well just hunker down and do it together.
Yeah.
And make it better than it was before. Fuckers, why do we have to make it so hard and make bombs and shit like that?
Yeah. It's not hard, but again, if you think your way of thinking is correct, you can't move forward. It stops there. You lose your creativity. You move your expansion of your mind. It ceases right there. Again, goes back to religious ideology, which goes with the conservative way of thinking. It all ties in together. If you think you have all the answers, you stop looking for them. And you cannot move forward. You can't learn anything. In fact, you go backwards. You go backwards while the rest of the world moves on.
This is what my favorite quote is about. Remember, Patty? I read it to you before. This is exactly how I interpret it. Hold on, let me see. I gotta see if I can find it real quick, because this is exactly relevant. It's my favorite quote, but I definitely too high to remember the whole thing right now. Okay, here it is. It is paradoxical yet true to say that the more we know, the more ignorant we become in the absolute sense. For it is only through enlightenment that we become conscious of our limitations. Precisely one of the most gratifying results of intellectual evolution is the continuous opening up of new and greater prospects.
Ooh.
Nikola Tesla. See, exactly this.
Dude. Isn't that so true?
I think so. That is my favorite quote in the world.
Yes. I kind of feel like we just solved the world's problems.
I think Nikola Tesla solved the problems whenever he was alive, decades ago, whenever that was, and everyone exiled him because of it. Think where we would be if they had listened to Nikola Tesla.
He was the creative mind, and he got shut down immediately. Yeah,
Well,
I don't even know how you
talk about. Let's be edgy and talk about ADHD and how it's like the most creative minds, and like there's a reason why those are the minds getting drugged. Let's just go there. Yeah, my younger kid is pretty sure ADHD.
Is that what you said? I was too, Bats? ADHD or ADD? Which one was it?
Maybe I think you're autistic, actually.
Oh, okay. I know I got shit grades in school, but then again, what is this about the second child?
I don't know. It's like you did this stimming behaviors. Stimming. We're gonna end here. We're off track in 5 directions. Stimming is like it's like repetitive behaviors. So your straw, the stimming, the bouncing, stimming. So I mean, it could also be anxiety behaviors because our childhood, but yeah, it's often an autistic association. The stimming behaviors.
Patty, I appreciate that you have filled the role that my parents neglected to fill.
Right? Like literally our younger sister even had a bad thing, like genetic malfunction thing going on, and they just like, it's not happening.
Well,
so they were definitely going to be autism, especially since I'm pretty sure dad's autistic too.
Oh.
Oh man. Oh. Sorry, really.
No. I just don't know what to say about any of it, so I'm staying quiet.
Yeah, neurodivergence, man. That's a whole, I was gonna say a bucket of layers. No,
well, I've actually been thinking that it's a wider spectrum than we think, and I think most of us are a little bit on it. In some way on the spectrum. I think that, like gender, I think that there's the idea that it's only this or only this is moving away.
Yeah, it is.
Because there's definitely things that I hear somebody saying like on the internet or something, this is a sign of autism, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, for example, something about the COVID lockdown triggered, I cannot touch like if my fingers are touching like this, it bugs me. I can't. Same thing with my legs. I have to wear pants. If my thighs touch, it bothers me. So
really?
I think is normal.
I don't, and it never happened before, but I guess I just spent so much time just like not like in my house and not like, I don't know, something about it. I just started like, I'm irritated by my own hand, my own fingers touching each other. So weird. Not weird. I just think that it's somewhere on it is like, okay, you know what? Because before it was like, well, that's super weird. I'm just going to like shut that out. Now I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to wear pants now. That's just where I'm at in life. I just accept it.
I've started wondering if things like all of the neurodivergence, if it really is, especially autism, like kind of just normal human behaviors, but most people learn to squelch most of them. And I think we start to pathologize it when it starts to make us uncomfortable. I mean,
I think that too.
That makes
Because
sense.
honestly, like now that we're discovering that everyone just learns different ways, like some people
Right.
learn by watching a movie, some people can read about it and be fine. You know, like there's different ways to learn.
Oh,
Like all
isn't
these
that so
different things are
true?
opening
Oh.
up. So all these things are just like people just like, you know what, this is just a thing about me. I need more test time to take a test,
Mhm.
you know, or whatever. Like it's just fine. It's not fine now everywhere, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
it's here. It definitely in Oregon is definitely not bad from what I see in the schools.
And it serves the patriarchy and capitalism to promote that one particular type of intelligence is the only intelligence, and to make all those very creative and highly strategic brains that work a completely different way to make them think that they're dumb, when in fact we need the synergy of all the types of brains, and we need them all working at top speed without trauma. If we can imagine what we could do if that was the case, y'all.
But you see that some of those most creative minds are the ones that don't fall under that category, you know?
Yeah.
Like that quote, we need less politicians and more artists. So it's something like that. I'm like, yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we really do. We need the creative minds. Like they get overlooked.
But I've
And we
noticed
need
that there are
women.
some talents that people with ADHD have that the rest of us don't. For example, I don't have ADHD at all, but I have a terrible sense of direction. And I have multiple friends with ADHD that they somehow they remember how, like, oh yeah, we passed by this painting and we took a left here, and like where I'm like trying to see if my GPS can get me out of a parking lot. Like, you know, like so I don't know, I think that it's a lot of things like that yeah, it's superior
really
in other
is.
ways.
There's something to it. There's something to it. I always feel like I was the person, like my sister got really good grades in school. I was more of an average CD type person as far as grades go. But I realized that I really had a different way of thinking. If there would be like multiple choice questions, which was often, I would have a really hard time answering any of them because I thought so far outside the box that I was like, I don't even see my answer here. Like I want to write in the answer because I look at it this way, and then I'd always get the question wrong, the answer wrong, because I thought too far outside the box. I always described it as like I would not see what's directly in front of me, but I would see that little thing in front of me that everyone else missed. That's the best way I can describe it. But again,
that's awesome.
I was horrible at mainstream.
That's why we need women like you, not bogged down with children. Right? I'm serious. There are some women who are wonderful and should be raising children up to live in a world where we work together. And if you think in ways that don't work for that, then you shouldn't be doing that. And we are at time. Good night, ladies.